IND Hemp Oilseeds and Fiber presents the Goodness of Hemp Industrial Hemp Show, where we will pull back the curtain and take you right into the action at the heart of the hemp industry, as we follow along with our team and the others in the industry working hard every day to build and develop an all-American supply chain for industrial hemp grain and fiber products. Hi folks, thanks for joining us here for episode 3 of the Goodness of Hemp Industrial Hemp Show. I'm your host, Greg Necco. On this week's episode, we're going to head north above the Highline right along the Canadian border and join the Montana Organic Association at Vilicus Farms. Along the way, we're going to introduce you to Ben Brimlow, our lead agronomist. So let's jump right in the truck and head on out.
All right, I'm Ben Brimlow. I get to work as lead agronomist with IND HEMP here in Fort Benton, Montana. I didn't grow up here in Montana. I grew up in Western Washington. Spent a lot of time on my grandparents' cattle farm, a small beef operation north of Vancouver, Washington. After high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. Ended up spending a year in traveling Latin America from Venezuela down to Chile and everything in between. And when I came back, decided that I wanted to be involved in agriculture and improving production of food, especially, and making an impact for good in farm communities. And went to college at WSU, Washington State University, on the rolling hills of the Palouse, Eastern Washington. Got exposed to dryland agriculture out there, and after my bachelor's degree, I liked Pullman and Eastern Washington and so much, and got more interested in the research field. So went on, did my master's there in agronomy, in crop science, with a focus on plant pathology and plant genetics. The main focus of my thesis was examining stripe rust, a fungal pathogen, and its interaction with different wheat varieties with different resistant genes, and then also tying in different chemical applications that would help facilitate disease control in these varieties. And really the purpose of it was to look at how much pesticide do we actually need to control the fungus. The outcome of that study really showed that if that plant has resistant genes, there really isn't a need to apply those fungicides in the long run. After grad school, I took a job with Lima Grain cereal seeds in Walla Walla, Washington. Got to be involved in a breeding program there, so we developed new wheat varieties, winter wheat, spring wheat. We tested barley as well for malt barley and food barley. Enjoyed those 2.5 years a ton, getting to be fully involved in variety development and really producing varieties adapted to the Pacific Northwest. After 2.5 years, I was ready to move on to getting out on the farm more. I wanted to see what's going on in modern agriculture and try and make a difference in other ways, more agronomy ways. So I joined Nutrient Solutions and worked a number of years with them as a crop consultant. I supplied fertilizer, seed, chemistry. I got to be exposed to both conventional production and organic farming. Learned a ton about what's really going on the ground on American farms and Pacific Northwest, regional farms. In 2019, Washington State finally lifted a lot of the restrictions. Actually, the USDA Farm Bill removed a lot of the restrictions on growing industrial hemp. When I heard about that, I'd heard a little bit, wasn't familiar with hemp up until that point, but I started learning about hemp hearts and all the different nutritional products that can be made out of hemp, which never crossed my mind until that point. And I thought, you know, I heard about them growing it over in Saskatchewan, Alberta, dryland, and I thought, you know what, I bet we can do that right here in Washington State on the Palouse, and put in the first industrial hemp, you know, dryland plot in Washington State. And we put in just a little quarter-acre plot of a grain variety. We didn't know exactly what we were doing, but we took our agronomic background and my agronomic insight to how other crops grow, and planted it. Most folks had said, no, you know, grain hemp won't work in Washington State. It's too dry. You don't get enough in-season precipitation. But we found out that year just what a phenomenal fit industrial hemp in a dryland environment really is. So 2019 really opened my eyes. I felt I could work with this crop for the rest of my career. You know, the winter of 2019, that winter, I was able to get connected with IND Hemp through Greg, and I felt we could make a collaboration where I'd support production there in Washington State, and we'd get contracts, and I'd be able to get to work with hemp a little more. That weekend, after driving back from Fort Benton, I got an email from Ken and from our admin saying, we'd like you to join the team in Montana and pick up your family and move out here. Something I was not expecting right off the bat. I knew immediately it was going to be something, a good fit, and I got the green light from my wife, and that spring, end of March, picked up, just got thrown right into Montana agriculture and the farming communities, and really the rest is history, I guess, in that respect.
Hi, I'm Jamie Lockman with the Montana Organic Association. I serve as Executive Director for this trade association that has about 200 members. We're grateful for IND Hemp as being one of our sponsors. Today we're at the Vilicus Farm tour. We're about 40 miles north of Havre, about 10 miles south of Canada.
We made it here to Vilicus Farms for the spring grower meeting, grower field day here for Montana Organic Association. Vilicus Farms is run by Doug and Anna Crabtree.
Second farm tour we hosted in our 13 seasons here, and so for us it's also kind of a celebration. Things look so good. We were so very lucky.
They opened up their farm here for the Montana Organic Association to showcase what they've got going on. This is dry as dryland production can be. You know, some years only a couple inches of precip. Average rainfall is around 11 inches, but they've been able to do some pretty impressive things. They've got around 23 different crops in the ground, which is almost unheard of for dryland Montana. They have north-south strips across the entire farm running on a 7-year rotation. So that's anything from pulses, lentils, garbanzos, peas, yellow peas, oats, wheat, barley, obviously hemp now in part of the rotation, and we get to showcase X59 and our fiber varieties as well out here on the farm today. It's been a pretty good turnout, and we're excited for what we got to take a look at.
We've had a great day. Started with looking at different fields on the farm, including one that included grain cleaners, manure turning. We also looked at some integrated cattle, and then we also looked at some hemp fields, and those are looking pretty darn good this year.
Taking a look at their introduction of livestock back into the rotation. We've lost that across a lot of farming operations in Montana in the last 100 years, but they're bringing cattle back into rotation for grazing, which really changes, we're going to see really changes the dynamic in the field. Lastly, we'll be looking at the composting practices they have going on here with the cattle manure and using that for additional supplemental nutrition in the fields.